The big story is back with an update from Mount Kanlaon in Negros, which had explosive eruptions last April 8. And just today, Phivolcs reported magmatic unrest. And to help us understand what this means, we have with us tonight Antonia Bornas, Chief of Volcano Monitoring and Eruption Prediction Division of Phivolcs. Welcome to the big story. Help us understand what this magmatic unrest means. Does it mean an eruption, a major eruption is imminent?
Hi, Ms.
All right,
Marita.
I'm sorry, you might be on mute po.
So,
All right, there we go. But you heard the question. Sige po,
yes.
go.
So, Kanlaon Volcano has been at alert level 3 since December 9, 2024, which means we already have magmatic unrest. So this means that there is magma involved in this activity. And we are actually looking at the likely possibility of a major eruption occurring at some point because the volcano has been preparing for 2 years. It has exhibited high occurrences of volcanic earthquakes since June 3, when it first had its explosive eruption. It has been giving off very high levels of sulfur dioxide, which is a volcanic gas that escapes magma when it is shallowing. When magma is quite deep, you don't get these high levels of sulfur dioxide. And in fact, in Kanlaon, the background levels, when it is at quiescence, of sulfur dioxide is less than 300 tons per day. But we have been averaging, since June 3, about 4,000 tons per day of sulfur dioxide. Although in the past weeks, we've had lower emissions between 1,000 and 2,000 tons per day. And that's why we've had activity in the summit crater of Kanlaon Volcano, with gas being trapped and being released in ash eruptions and ash emissions.
Okay, that's a very technical explanation. But if we try to simplify it a little bit, of course, we know that an eruption is impending. But to, I guess, make it more simple, are you expecting a phreatic eruption or a magmatic eruption?
We are already in the phase where we already have magma being erupted. A small proportion of the ash that is being emitted by Kanlaon is actually already from new magma based on the analysis of the ashes. That we sample, there is a 10%, at most 10% component of ash is already new magma. So we are actually technically having magmatic eruptions with the ash emissions and the minor explosive eruptions. But these are all just this activity, the minor explosive eruptions and the ash emissions. These are only discrete events in a build-up to what we think is a major eruption.
So, Ms. Mariton, kailan po ba inaasahan yung big eruption na yan?
We don't have any blueprint.
Is there a way to tell the timeline if you're seeing increased activity already?
Yes, we have to monitor the condition of the volcano day by day, hour by hour. The volcano has not had this kind of activity since we began writing historical records or even instrumental monitoring. So we really can't tell what our information about what this volcano can do is based on its geology, and of course with comparison with other similar volcanoes worldwide. But by itself, we don't have any blueprint. No? So we need to look at the parameters day by day. And we can only work on scenarios based on how these parameters will develop, if they are sustained through time, or if they will become really worse at some point in the unrest.
My question, I guess, Ms. Mariton, no? May chance ba na this is the worst of it already, and then after this spate of eruption here, eruption there, is magkakalma na lang siya? Posible ba yun?
Well, we cannot disregard this chance, this likelihood. We never say never already in volcanology. But the chances of this being it are very small compared to the chances of this being the
Big, major.
preliminary events of a major eruption.
Ma'am, I'm sure you are in constant contact with the local authorities there. Are there people who still need to be evacuated?
The LGUs and the DRR councils have evacuated the 6-kilometer radius area, but of course, the LGUs and the DRR councils have also implemented a scheme wherein a member of the family can enter the 6-kilometer radius area and check on their belongings or their farmlands or their crops or their cattle or land. No? So they already have an they are implementing the scheme that will be acceptable to people. And as I think it's very understandable for local government officials to be working on a scheme where people are able to exercise their choice of how much volcanic risk they are willing to take. So it's really the reality in many areas of volcanic risk.
That's right. Well, ma'am, there's also been seismic activity that was recorded in Mindanao. The strongest being a 5.7 magnitude earthquake in the waters of Sarangani. Connected po ba yan? Is that related to what's happening also with Kanlaon? Or is it an isolated?
These are tectonic earthquakes that are caused by the movement of tectonic plates in that area. So Mindanao is quite far from Negros in terms of magmatism.
And that kind of seismic activity, should we be concerned? Should we be worried about that? Or is that normal lang, ma'am?
Of course, for earthquake hazards, of course. But for the case of Kanlaon, not really.
Well, we thank you for your time, Antonia Bornas of Phivolcs.
You're welcome po. Ingat po tayo.